maybe for a little while, for a couple years. She needs a change, a place to clear her mind. She needs to put her past in boxes, leave it all behind.
Hey everybody, this is Jonathan from Lehigh Valley Music and Sound, and with me today is Andrew Dunn from Lebanon, New Jersey. Hey Andrew, thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks for having us here, all of us.
I got to listen to your music a little bit before the show, and you played for us in the studio here, and it is absolutely amazing.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
So how long have you been composing music and writing music? That's the same thing.
Well, yeah, basically. Really about 30 years at this point. I started pretty young. It's about 17, 18 when I really started.
Yeah.
And I
Wow.
picked up the guitar then. I mean, I sang in a choir in elementary school and played trumpet and clarinet and stuff. So I already knew how to read music and knew that I was confident with my music skills. But then I picked up the guitar in high school and I just never really looked back. I started writing before I could play. You know, like I was always writing ahead of where I was musically, physically with the guitar, because you know it's not an easy instrument to learn, you know, compared to some others. But
And what made you decide to go the path of folk music? Who were your influences with that?
well, we were talking before about what your parents listened to. You know, my
Yeah.
parents listened to a lot of different things. They certainly listened to a lot of the folk stuff of the '60s. The Peter, Paul and Mary, the New Christie minstrels, but they also loved like Statler Brothers and country music, and
Yeah.
so
It's interesting because, and I'm glad you brought that up, and I was just talking to my stepdad about that earlier, that there's like a blurry line between country music and folk music. Because I know
There
like
can be,
some of
yeah.
the songs I heard you sing, they have sort of like a country song, like the Godfrey Daniels song, which
Right.
I really love.
oh yeah,
That kind of has like sort of like, it's not country, but it can kind of be mistaken for country, I would say.
mistaken. It's funny. It's a funny word, but I understand what you're saying. I mean, I think that's the beauty of what encompasses folk music is. It's just there's just an honesty to it, I think, and a storytelling element.
Yeah, I like that. I like
Yeah,
that a lot.
I enjoy that too. I mean, there's a place for music that's just about the vibe of the song and then the dance music and stuff like that. But I really enjoy the storytelling of folk music and country music and a lot of these traditional. I mean, you know, traditional storytelling was all in rhyme, so it could be remembered, you know, and in
Yeah.
verse. So I think it's just there's a legacy to it, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you guys are going to see his music on this page, both in this interview and also separately from this interview, so you guys can see what Andrew Dunn is all about and his awesome music and songwriting abilities. Like I was totally blown away by his performance.
Thanks.
And the reason why I brought up earlier about country music and folk music sort of being confused is because I think a lot of people like folk music but don't realize they like folk music because
Yes.
going back to like when I was in school and music class and chorus, and a lot of times when you talked about folk artists, they were, you just
Yes.
you know where I'm going
Like
with this.
them.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so I don't think a lot of people realize that folk music is still alive and well today, and that they're listening to folk music at times and they don't even realize it.
Well, you know what helped a lot, I think, I forget what the year was, but Bon Jovi did they came out for some award show and did Wanted Dead or Alive with acoustics. Remember that?
Yeah.
And I feel like that brought this huge resurgence of acoustic music. It was after that MTV Unplugged started. And I feel like that made a big comeback for acoustic guitar. Because I feel there is a difference. I'm not taking anything away from electric guitar, but if somebody can play a really clean lick on an acoustic guitar, you know they're a good player.
Yeah.
Versus an electric guitar, it's just a little. I don't want to say. It doesn't require less talent. It's much more forgiving to an electric guitar.
Yeah.
Than an acoustic guitar.
And I think people just get tired of the same old thing. You know, when
People can. Sure.
electric guitars took over, and it was kind of like a rebellion thing, because rock is all about rebellion.
Of course.
And it just, but after a while, you know, and I know I was having a conversation with when Hell Ascends tonight was here, the drummer and the guitarist.
Right.
And we were saying how Matt was saying how everything is cyclical. It just kind of keeps
Absolutely.
revolving.
It does.
And I said it's because, you know, people always want to do something different, and when you hear the same thing all the time, people get bored, and then you go on to a different style, and eventually you run full circle, because there's only so many styles you can do before you just wind up going in a circle.
Well, or before you wind up so outside of what's pleasant, I think. You know what I mean? There are people who are really innovative, but their music can almost be unlistenable. You know? I mean, I know Frank Zappa had some really weird stuff when he first started out.
Like, you mean, like, if they try to be so different to the point that it just doesn't even sound good anymore. I know what you mean.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
They're like, I want to be different.
Yes, well, you're
instead
different.
Instead of just naturally being different.
Right.
Like, I'm a big Killers fan,
Okay.
and when they came out in the early 2000s, like, they were just like, I don't know, you couldn't really define their style, because they weren't punk, they weren't really rock. They had sort of like an 80s influence.
Right.
And I know that they were influenced by the Beatles, and you could definitely hear that in their vocals in some of their songs.
Sure.
They were just weird, but it wasn't an offensive weird. It was a refreshing weird.
I understand that. Sure.
It's almost like their uniqueness just kind of flowed naturally.
Well, that's the beauty, I think, is like when you get as an artist, you're obviously pulling in all these influences, but in the end, there's something unique about each of us, I think, that comes out. So you're doing the Beatles, or you're doing whatever cover tune you might be doing. You're putting your own spin on it because of who you are naturally, and I think that's really interesting. I'm going to do my Pepsi endorsement here.
Oh.
This episode brought to you by Pepsi products.
I certainly wish it was.
Oh. Sorry, you have to edit the little tooth glint in there. So, but yeah, that's the beauty of, I think music is really magic.
Yeah, it is.
And
because, like, you know, with working on the radio station and the playlist and all that, I mean, it's listening to some of the older songs that I grew up with. Like, it's just, music is like the closest thing I think we have to a teleport.
Yeah,
because
right?
it just like, it like punches you right in the gut.
and it throws you right back into whatever time you first heard that song, or you have a strong association with the song.
That takes you back to that time in your life. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad.
Yep.
I mean, that's why songs can make you break down when you hear them, or they can make you feel real happy.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Depending. And it's just...
And that's the beauty, I think, of folk music. You know, you have all these people who are insanely talented, but they're not on a big label or anything. So you hear a song, and you're hearing it for the first time, but it can really transport you.
Yeah.
And really hit you emotionally. I mean, I've gone to big folk music conventions or whatever, or folk festivals, where you just hear these people and you walk away sobbing.
Yeah.
And you didn't expect it at all, you know, but it sometimes the right song at the right moment is just, it's amazing.
Yeah, it is.
It's amazing. And that's why I love to do it. I have one song called My Husband's Car, which talks about an older woman. I used to work for AAA, so I would go do the jumpstart batteries and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to jumpstart this woman's car, and she said, "Could you start my husband's car too? Because, you know, he's been ill, he has cancer, and we've been taking care of him." And he says, "But he wants to drive, and you know, this car just isn't starting." So it just made me really reflect on stuff. But that song in particular hits people. So when I play that song, I'll usually find somebody in the audience who's crying.
Yeah.
And I'll specifically make a point of going up to them and talking to them afterwards to say, like, just tell me your story. Because, you know, it did something for them.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's very cathartic for them to be able to tell somebody about it, you know?
Yeah.
And you can't get better than that. That's a gift.
Yeah, it's anytime you write songs or hear songs like that, it definitely hits home with a lot of people.
Yeah, it's really magic.
Is everybody? Because you remember the song, the Christmas Shoes by Alabama?
Oh yes.
I mean,
yes.
I couldn't listen to that song without crying.
Yeah.
And I saw the Hallmark movie that went along with it.
Oh yeah.
With I think the movie was called The Christmas Shoes.
Probably.
Which I guess that's where the song came from, or the movie came from that, or whichever. But anyways,
Yeah, I think
chicken or the egg.
That was one of those things that went around on an email strain first. You know what I mean? It was like the story of the Christmas shoes. And
that it was just a
it's a great story.
Heartbreaking story. Yeah.
Exactly. And that's you know, if you can take a story like that and condense it down to 3 minutes and still fit everything in there, that's a skill. You know what I mean? It really is a skill.
It is.
And what I try and do is I try and make my songs very conversational. And I want them to sound very simple without actually being simple.
Yeah.
I want it to sound fresh, like it just could be happening organically. But then you go back and you listen to it and you go like, oh, there's a rhyme scheme in there, and oh, look at that, you know, we did this and this.
Oh, I definitely notice it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a big music lover,
Right.
obviously, and so I listen. I can tell that your music is not simple, even though it comes across as simple.
Right.
And that's a really good songwriter. You know, that's a hit maker in the works in the making, because
It depends, I guess, what genre.
yeah.
But I mean, yeah, I mean that's like that was the genius of John Prine. You know, I don't know if you're familiar with.
Oh
John
yes,
Prine.
yeah.
I mean, he could write about anything, and he could make it really simple. But then, you look at his simple lines; they're not simple.
Yeah.
They're not simple at all, and in fact, a lot of them make you just your head explode. You know what I mean? There's one line in the song that talks about being frozen in the bathtub, and there was naked as the eyes of a clown. It's like, wow. It's like, you know what I mean?
That is very deep.
But it's a simple song. It's a funny song.
And you gotta wonder how many people that line just kind of went right over their head because they weren't paying attention.
Yeah, and that's okay. That's okay.
But
you know, that's not my audience. That's okay.
But that's wow. That's something else.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's a throwaway in a way.
Yeah.
But it's like, well, wait, let's back up and investigate that, because that's really deep and involved, I think. And that's just the beauty. Like, there's another song, Billy Joel's "We Didn't Start the Fire."
Yeah.
Where he goes through all this historic stuff.
Oh yeah.
And you know, first of all, I have mixed emotions about it because we had to like do a lot of writing on it in school. You know what I mean? Because it was just there's so many historical things going on, and it took me a while. But you know, he does do it in order, which is very impressive. But then he's also got this every other line rhymes, which I didn't notice for years.
Yeah.
And years until
which is common in poetry.
Which is very common in poetry, and it's hard to do in songwriting.
Yeah.
To not make it apparent.
Right.
To not make it seem forced.
Forced, yeah.
And he pulls it off brilliantly in that song. You know, so
because I noticed that, you know, not to pick on any particular genre, but I noticed that in rap a lot, like they so badly want to rhyme that I think to myself, is that really what you wanted to say, or is that the word that fit in that line?
Well, you know, it's funny. I was a music teacher for about 15 years, and a lot of the kids would bring in their music, and I'd be curious what they were listening to, because I want to know, you know, I wanted my finger on the pulse of what the students were listening to. Mm-hmm. And they would bring in Eminem, and Eminem, you know, regardless of how I feel about his message, his writing is incredible.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean,
and he's the opposite of forced. Like, that just flows out.
But it seems like it.
Yeah.
It seems like it. But there's a craft to it. That's what I'm saying. Is there's really, I admire him a lot as a writer, I don't know that I'd want to hang out with him. But I can't say I wouldn't want to either, you know, because I
Yeah.
bet if we got on songwriting, we would have a lot of the same ideas. you know?
That would be definitely a very interesting collaboration.
It would be. It would be. And he's collaborated with some interesting artists, I think.
Oh yeah.
You know, I can't, I'm not going to remember them, but yeah. And I remember another student brought in Linkin Park. And I remember being really impressed with the drummer of Linkin Park.
Yeah.
You know, it's really weird stuff that he was doing out. I don't know, Mike, do you know his name? The drummer from Linkin Park? No. Okay, well, we can edit that out.
But in the end, it doesn't really matter.
Right. Yeah, it doesn't matter. But the point was,
It was a Linkin Park joke.
oh, sorry. Dun, 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 dun.
That was cheesy. See, I'm cheesy too.
That's all right. I
don't know if this show can handle two cheesy people on the show
well,
at once.
I'm not as familiar. I knew the song. I didn't realize it was Linkin Park because it was later. That was later
Yeah.
in their career from when I first heard them.
You know, this is totally getting off topic, but I know Linkin Park.
What the heck?
I know Linkin Park. I actually enjoyed them more as they evolved.
Yeah. Sure.
And I love when musicians evolve. I know some people get, you know, all
Turned off by it.
Yeah, but I think that's a disservice to the artist because why? How can you expect an artist to sound the same from the point they started to the middle of their career to the end of their career?
Well, that's it. It gets very stagnating, and I think you want to keep striving to change up something. And that's the beauty, I think, of being a songwriter, is that you can change genres without having to change your whole image. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For example, you could do something like write songs for, I'm not picking on her, but Britney Spears or something.
Right.
You know what I mean? And if she comes into fashion and then out of fashion as a songwriter, you're still fine. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
like
her as a
you
performer.
get the satisfaction of constructing that project without being necessarily tied to it.
Right, without being the face of it.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So if they go out of style, that's okay. You as a songwriter still learned a great deal and made some money or whatever and had a good time, and then you can move on to something else. It's kind of a fun chameleon sort of thing that you can do as a songwriter. But some people do that, and
Well, that's like with Lady Gaga. She was, I was amazed at the different artists that she wrote songs for. But and then I guess all of a sudden she's like, you know what? I want to be in the limelight now. So
Good for her.
Here I am. You know.
yeah, I always think that's interesting when and then there's people like I'm trying to remember her name that started as a songwriter and didn't want to be the performer. You know? Like Billy Joel was that way. He didn't really want to be the performer.
I guess it was kind of like a situation like me where I didn't want to be in front of the camera.
Exactly,
but
right.
Here I am.
Well, our lead singer didn't show up, man. What do you got?
But you know what, though? I guess it kind of makes sense. I don't know the full story with Billy Joel, but maybe he was writing the song and he's like, you know what? I don't think anyone else can pull this off but me. Not to like be boastful, but
Right.
If the song was written kind of in his style, basically,
Right.
It's basically like when I was casting for a short film, I didn't want to be in it at all. I was casting for all other actors and actresses to be in it. And then the problem was the one lead character was literally mirrored after my personality. They were like vibrant.
What can you do?
They
You had to take one for the team.
They were. It was vibrant, silly, goofy, cheesy, and I'm like, it's hard. It's hard to.
That would be me.
And it's like if you wrote a song and it's literally like your style. It's Andrew Dunn.
Right.
And you're trying to find someone to fit this song.
Yeah.
You're like, you know what? I guess I'm just gonna do this myself because I can't get the vocals and the styles right. I can't choose someone to do it.
Well, and that's another sort of exercise that you can go through is to try and write, aim a song at an artist.
Yeah.
I mean,
so you tailor it to their style and to their vocals.
you try and emulate what they do, but really I find that, and I found from speaking to professional songwriters. I mean, I don't do this professionally, but I mean I do it professionally, but not full time.
Right.
So the people that do it professionally say that quite often it's a song that they didn't write for an artist. It's one that they wrote for themselves that they thought nobody would like or nobody would understand. Those are the ones that become the real big hits because it's just true.
Yeah.
It just comes from such a pure place within them, I guess, that it comes out. And that comes out in a song.
Yeah.
You can't hide the truth like that. So it's a beautiful thing.
Content is always king.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
So I'm sure people out there that are watching this and they're watching, because you've already seen and heard the music, they probably want to know where they can find you as far as like any live performances. Maybe, do you have any albums?
I do. Oh, I should do that. Can I just walk away for a second?
I guess we can let you walk away.
All right.
Hang on, let me uncuff you first. Well, this is exciting. I didn't know that Andrew brought albums with him.
Oh, yeah. It's so exciting. Now, will this be mirrored, or is like they can?
No, it won't be mirrored.
It won't be mirrored. Okay,
Let
so
you
good.
see it.
So I have 2 CDs.
Wow, this is the real deal.
Oh yeah, look, see, it's like I'm a pro and everything. So this is called I Am. This was put out in 2003. This was before my children were born. This was like I better hurry up and record while I have time and energy. And this is called The House Above the Factory. This is after the girls were born. They were, I guess, about 13 and 11 when I did this. And my daughter actually plays bass clarinet on one of these songs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
No kidding.
Yeah, it was really fun. It was really fun. I used her. I did a lot of the recording myself, so I did the bass line is her on the bass clarinet, and I just lowered it an octave on the recording software.
Yeah. Wow.
So it's really cool. Anyway, and
That's
then
awesome.
so these are available on CD Baby or iTunes or wherever you get your music from.
Now, is CD Baby okay now? Because like the last time I tried to go on, when I went on your website and I went to CD Baby, it was like saying like, no, we're not here. We're not here right now. Or nobody's home.
That's a fine question. I should find that
gotta
out before
find
we
that
put
out.
it on video. Huh?
Is that the only place that your CDs are available?
No, they should be available on Amazon, Spotify,
Amazon, all right.
Pandora. I know I'm
Sweet.
played on Pandora.
Awesome.
But I can tell you that Amazon Music, so Alexa, will actually, it pays me the most.
Really?
Yeah, it's like actually a penny and a
Nice.
little more. Pandora is like 0.0017 cents or something. So my joke with my daughters is, when they hear me on Pandora, they go, "Daddy, penny dust," Because that's what it is. Here's what I made from Pandora last year. That's what it is. But yes, I have a
All right, so we'll add all these links to the post so that people can
yes, my
can,
website
can
and
find
stuff
you.
like that.
You
Yeah,
got- people want to find you.
Yep. But those are the two: the House Above the Factory, which is a factory in Custom Alloy in High Bridge, New Jersey, and this was my my college roommate's senior art project. His name is Ed Roman. Took a picture of me playing guitar
Oh,
and
nice.
transformed it into that. The original is it's a huge picture. I have a copy of that on my wall at home. So that's fun.
I'm just saying, you totally need to tag Eminem in this post.
Yeah?
Like, you totally have.
I'll do it.
He needs to hear you say that you have great respect for him as a songwriter, but you might not hang out with him. You might just get a phone call.
That'd be fine.
I could do that.
I know he gave Elton John
You
a-
totally need to tag Eminem in this.
Yeah, I agree.
You totally do.
Okay. I know for a fact, because I've seen interviews with Elton John, that Eminem gave him a gold cock ring, like with gems on it, as a wedding present or something
Wow.
like that.
Like, he could totally do like the talking parts and after the steel. Like, he could totally like rap that, and you could sing like the. You could do this magical collaboration. I could hear it in my head.
That would be awesome.
Right?
That would be awesome. Like,
That would
I really
be like
do.
instant stardom.
I
if you
really
did
do admire his writing.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
phenomenal, because you compare almost any rapper to him, and it's like, nah, it's just not. It's not. You know what I mean? Well, I say that. No, that's not true. I'm not saying emotionally they're not there. It's the craftsmanship of the writing that is so different. So different. Anyway.
Yeah, he truly is an artist. but
Oh.
the way he writes, the way he composes.
And there's certainly emotion behind it.
Oh yes.
I mean, there's no doubt about it. I mean, this guy's he's had a tough life. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm sure. And like Ed Sheeran is another one who's an incredible craftsman.
Oh
I think.
yeah.
Um, and you know, Ed uses a lot of the same four chord kind of things, but he just makes them sound so different.
Yeah.
And he's someone who's just really lived in his music. You know, he lived on a lot of couches and, you know, suffered a lot. Not suffered, but I think given up a lot for his music. So it was wonderful when he did achieve this fame. Not like I knew him beforehand, but
Yeah.
you know, to just know the success story of someone who works hard, who really works hard. I just saw an interview with him recently where he said that he says, you know, pick someone he admires, and he saw how many shows they did a year, and he did like double that. You know, like that's how he betters himself.
That's why I like watching those biography movies about musicians, to see like where they came from and how they got to where they were.
Yeah,
I'm a big Meatloaf fan.
right.
That's why I have that tattoo right there.
Oh yeah, Bad Out of Hell, nice.
And I've been a fan of him since I was a teenager. And when I watched the one biography movie about him, I was like, holy crap! Like he fought tooth and nail to get to where he was.
I can believe that. I can believe that.
You know,
Believe
people thought he was a clown. You know, they thought his music was like from another planet, and they didn't want. A lot of people didn't want anything to do with him because they didn't think they could. Because you know, it all comes down to the money.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't think they could market it. They're like, we can't sell this. We can't put this on the radio.
They thought that about Queen too, right? You know.
And meanwhile, Queen was like, let's make this sound more ridiculous.
But that was them going out of the edges of the realm of what's acceptable, what's practical, what's enjoyable, you know. And you'll find that Queen fans are like Volkswagen fans, you know. They're rabid fans. They're like, you know, this is the best ever, you know.
Yeah.
So there's nothing wrong with stretching yourself musically.
No.
I think it pays off. You know what I mean? And
As long as, like we were saying before, as long as it's not forced. You know,
Right.
because you can tell. You can
Yeah.
tell when it's just like forcing a rhyme,
yeah.
using a word in a sentence where it doesn't really make any sense, but
Right.
except for the fact that it rhymes, and then making yourself sound different, and doing it just because you want to be different rather than just being different.
Right. You could tell when it's you know, natural, right? Another thing I'll put to helping my songwriting is I read a lot of Dr. Seuss.
Yeah.
Yeah, which you wouldn't necessarily think so, but I
No,
think
because I can understand that, because Dr. Seuss, especially when it's recited, it has a very almost a musical flow to it.
right, and he's very particular with his syllables. He makes them all match
Yeah.
rhythmically, and the books that are not as well known, they're just not written as well, which is why, and I argue that's why they're not as well known, because they don't flow as well.
Right.
You know, Cop on Pop is a great little book. You know what I mean? But I don't know. I just think that it's funny, the stuff that led me to where I am. You know, and like you say about Meatloaf, or Ed Sheeran or whoever, it's a lot of lucky breaks and a lot of little steps forward. And I feel like I'm grateful to have, you know, opportunities like this, because you never know who sees this and who knows who, and you know.
Yeah.
So it's just every little step forward is a step forward, and
And that's why what the whole point of this project, I reached out to a lot of different people, and I just recently reached out to a record label, and they're a small independent record label outside of Philly, but I'm constantly reaching out, because the whole point of this platform is for people to get recognition and to get known, because those people, they know how to push the content, you know, in ways that I don't know, which
good
is
to know your limits. Yeah.
yeah. So it's, but I enjoy networking with all these people, with video production companies like Sound Divisions, Double Life Entertainment. They are a recording studio / record label. They do it all, and it's just cool. It's I'm meeting so many different people by doing this, and
I'm sure it just really widens the
yeah,
And music is such a small world that a lot of people know a lot of people.
Yes, and
So-
I just like it that because this is all to help the local artists.
Well, we appreciate it.
And I know you weren't sure about coming on at first because you're not technically from the Lehigh Valley, and when I spoke with Angela, and I said, well, no, it's Lehigh Valley and abroad. So
Well, Godfrey Daniels is really where I cut my teeth.
Yeah.
As far as really the songwriting, and performing, which is why I wrote that song. you
Yeah.
know, for Dave Fry, because I really did appreciate having that when I was 17, 18 years old.
So that's kind of like where you got your start. So really, your
Yeah.
roots, at least musically, are in the valley.
Yeah.
So
definitely.
that's awesome.
Godfrey Daniels. It's a great place. It's a great place. I spent a lot of time there. Yeah, it was just it was a great place. It was filled with talented people who were just big personalities.
Yeah.
And it was a wonderful place to learn by example. And if you got respect and listened to there, then you were doing okay. You know what I
Nice.
mean? So it was neat. It was a neat time. You know, these things move on and they change, but you can't take it away. So you should definitely check out Godfrey's
Will do.
when the pandemic is over.
And I definitely want you to keep playing hard because I enjoyed your music.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate you having us on.
It was my pleasure.
Great. All right.
So, Andrew, I want to thank you for being on the show with me.
Thanks for having me.
It was a pleasure to have you here and for you to play for us. And I'm definitely looking forward to see you in the future. And you guys, I want you to check Andrew Dunn out. Check out his websites. Check out his music. And you will not be disappointed. Andrew, is there any last words you'd like to say to all the fine people out there?
Nope. Stay healthy. That's it. Stay healthy. Stay happy.
And stay listening to music.
And stay listening to music. Yeah.
Preferably yours.
I'm not that full of myself.
I'm just kidding.
Just enjoy music. Music should be fun.
All right. See you guys.
Thanks.
She went south, she's getting out of here. Maybe for a little while, or a couple years. She needs a change, a place to clear her mind. She needs to put her past in boxes, leave it all behind. She could go anywhere she wanted. She's been a bottle thrown dark. She could go anywhere at all to mend a broken heart. She went south, south, soft Louisiana cotton. Mason-Dixon shut my mouth. South. 'Cause it takes time to let a lover go. He gave her reasons why he said goodbye, but even so, she could go anywhere she wanted to make a life without a man. She could go anywhere at all to start again. She went south, south, soft Louisiana cotton. Mason-Dixon shut my mouth. South. Mama said there's nothing like the Southland in the spring. There is no shame in coming home again, months to see what heaven brings. Yeah, yeah. Valley Bay.
She can see
Magnolia trees and hear the breeze